That's why I think people get bad when they get older, is because they don't focus on the why, they focus on the techniques. They have recipes.
Right.
They don't have...
Yeah, keep that, because that...
Fucking as soon as we start filming, the flies start.
That's very
That's
interesting.
me. I took a giant shit.
No, that's still Sasha. She left them behind. I'll leave this in.
Yeah. That'll be the intro.
Anyway.
I like
all
that
right.
touch right there.
Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. All right, we'll get started. Hey guys, what's going on? We're back here with the 4 cauliflower ears, 6 today. Kyle, he's been looking after himself for the most part.
I got surgery to clean these up, baby.
For real?
Yeah. You can get surgery. Yeah,
Well, no,
they'll cut them out.
Could, but still. But I mean, you've been draining it ever, or?
Yeah, and then I do have the problem with the inner ear though, because like you can't get that as easy.
Yeah.
And so now I can't hear as well in that ear.
Do you have problems with, like, buds?
Yes.
Yeah, so do I.
Buds suck now.
Mainly in this ear. This ear is good.
It's too open in this one. It's too closed in this one.
Okay, it's too closed in this one. I know what you're
All
going
right.
through.
Well, I didn't know that you did your thing. Okay.
My mom made me get it when I was 20.
Aw.
Shit.
I always looked at mine, and mine isn't crazy.
No, that's
my
pretty
little
good.
one. It's like a little badge of courage.
Yeah, now I can go stealth though.
Mine is not bad either. They're fine.
When you don't have cauliflower ear, you can roll into a new gym and wear just kind of like basketball shorts and a t-shirt.
And a t-shirt
And nobody knows. They're like, oh, have you trained before? You're like,
Right.
yeah, a little bit, yeah, maybe
Well,
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but then as soon as you start rolling,
Then they're like, this motherfucker. Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that too much.
But you don't go. You don't cruise around gyms and stuff.
Not here in LA, but when I
right
travel
now,
not right now, still recovering from ACL surgery. But my name's Kyle Calkins. I'm a black belt under second degree now. I forgot about that.
Nice.
I forgot. Under Gustavo Gasparin, MMA Leech, shout out. It's been training, God, in total, almost 20 years. It's 18 years this year. I started in 2006.
Did you start with Marcelo?
No, Elite MMA in Houston. So Eric Williams, high win, and then I moved to Helson Gracie in Austin, and then I moved to North Dallas MMA under JD Shelley, and then I moved to Marcelo Garcia Dallas under Rob Abels, and then I moved to
How
Rich.
do you remember all their names?
You've been around the world.
Because I haven't gotten as many fucking hits as you guys.
As you guys, I haven't gotten any hits. Are you kidding me?
I just forget.
I'm just young as shit, you know? I remember all of them like crushing my face and then teaching me various different things.
Yeah.
But it's been really good. I've had a really good journey over the years.
Were you at each one long enough to develop a?
Yes.
Like you got a warm place in your heart for each one of those,
For sure.
which I can kind of tell because you said all their names.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty dope.
At least 3 to 4 years under everybody.
Okay.
And it was really good. It was really nice to understand. Like, I think it was good to have that early because I got almost every belt. Yeah, I did. I got my blue belt under Phil Cardella. And then I got my purple belt under Phil Cardella, and then I moved to Dallas for work, and I got my brown belt under JD Shelley, and then I moved and got my like 3rd and 4th degree brown belt under Rob Abels from Marcelo Garcia. And what that allowed me to do, I think really early on, was like just by force of work, it taught me to understand how different people teach. Taught me to understand how they what they build their game around. What is it that they see? And I think that that's really helped my career to have like, I'm not like a true believer in any specific style. I just go, what is it that people understand? How do they think? And then how can I replicate that and take the best pieces that fit for my objectives, my goals, what I want out of my training, which I think sometimes is a little different than what other people's goals are and what other people like.
What years were these?
Oh, geez.
The only reason why I'm asking you this, I'm curious, because when I started 100 years ago, like in the 90s, it was looked down on.
It was.
You were a Crianchi.
Oh, Crianchi. I got called that once.
If you you went to your spot, and that's it.
Yeah, so that was...
Maybe if there was an affiliate, it would be okay to go to the affiliate.
I think I got away with it because I literally had to move for work.
Okay.
And I moved for school.
Because that just changed. I don't
So
know.
we were not
recently.
in the same city with 2 different gyms.
No, not. And literally, it was like I moved from way up north in Frisco all the way down to like south of Dallas, and so then it was like, whatever, it's okay. You're like, no one's gonna care if you hey, listen, I moved an hour away, so you know what I'm saying. A lot of those were like 3 or 4 years. So I started in 2006. And then stayed in Waco and traveled down to Austin to see Phil. And then when I left and graduated from college in Baylor, I went to Dallas, and I was up near like Frisco area. and then I would eventually move down to South Dallas to go train with Rob. And then I went to grad school. And so when I was in grad school, I was in Richmond, Virginia, and I trained with Eric Burdo and, oh man, I forgot the name of that school, Richmond BJJ. But that was kind of more just like, honestly, I didn't have as much time because of school. And so I took a little bit of a break there, but I trained. What belt were you then? I was brown belt. Yeah, I was like a 4-stripe brown belt by then.
What were you studying in school?
I studied advertising, and so I did marketing strategy and advertising. So right now I work at Riot Games on Valorant.
Ah.
So the Fist one?
Yeah, the Fist company.
You're not doing code or anything?
No, I'm a marketing guy.
Okay. Do you have to like put a nice shirt on and go?
Dude, it's video games. Everybody dresses like a super nerd. This is actually what I wore to work today. People think this is dressed up because I'm not wearing like a hoodie.
Is it fun?
Oh, it's super fun. Yeah.
You enjoy going in every day?
Yeah. They're chill people, so it's cool. Okay. I like it as a gig. And then it also lets me come in here and get smashed and smash.
I'm just always curious as to what people do. We usually talk to our guests and ask them about that. Do you think it's interesting?
Yeah. I think a lot of the things that make me good at grappling, jiu-jitsu, MMA are the same things that make me good at my job.
Okay,
which
that's
is
a great point.
A strategic mind, because a lot of what I have to do is understand media systems, audiences, people. What are the mechanisms that are like, okay, if I need to launch this game in this market, what do I need to do? That same structured thinking gets carried over into jiu-jitsu and MMA for me, and I apply that same way where I go, okay, what is my objective here? Is it really to achieve the mount, to achieve the back, or is it to make them carry my weight? Is it to slow them down? Okay, that's the real problem. So now that I know this is my objective, then there are many ways to accomplish that. And kind of like I think we were talking a little bit before this is when you start from that perspective, it allows you to update your techniques over the years. Because I think of techniques as like recipes. My goal is to cook a good fucking soup. It's not to cook gazpacho, right? It's what makes a good soup. What are the principles of what I'm trying to do? What are the principles of grappling? How do I update it based on what new people have developed? I think like I got really inspired in like 2015 and 2016 when Danaher and all those people kind of busted onto the scene because I felt like they shifted the focus back towards that and updated things that weren't as connected.
Stale.
Yeah, they were getting stale. Like I felt
things were stale at that point. 10th Planet was like the next best thing since sliced bread, basically in jiu-jitsu. It's like it was the innovators, and then they all got. We talk about that. They all got beaten in their own tournament by the Danaher guys, and it was like, hold on, we're not doing something right here, right?
Right.
So that's when actually people started looking at the Danaher guy. Because Gary Tonin had his ADCCs before Eddie Cummings, before 2015 and 16 when they came out. But I think EBI is what made them...
Made him a star.
EBI made
100%.
them made them visible, for which I credited Eddie Bravo, of course.
Yep.
But EBI is what made them visible and then, innovated the whole game. I think very much.
My first exposure to the Danaher style was with Gary Tonin, and if you're an OG and you remember in 2000, I want to say 12, maybe 13, there was the Kumite, the brown belt Kumite, where they're trying to show off Keenan.
Lloyd Irvin.
Yeah, they were trying to show off Keenan, and then Gary Tonin whipped out. And everyone was like,
so
"What is
intense.
that guy?" I loved that.
Gary was a brown belt at the time.
Loved it. That's right.
Purple.
All of them were.
Brown
All
belt.
of them, it was a brown belt tournament.
Yeah, that was brown belt.
Sean.
It was 5 matches. Gi, 5 matches, no gi.
Oh,
unlimited time.
That's the one where they
everyone
went
against everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone, and Keenan went 10-0.
I fucking loved that one. I love that so much. I replicated. I started my own tournament. I did one tournament because I almost got screwed at a tournament because it was an invite where they wanted us to front the money, and they told us after they invited us. And so then I went and got my own sponsors, and I was like, no, I will literally pay everyone to go compete. Not a lot of money. It was like $100. And then the winner got $1,000. The second place winner got $300
from sponsors. All
from
no wonder
sponsors.
you're into marketing.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, go fuck you. And then it was called the brown belt no gi throwdown because I loved no gi from the beginning, and I always was like, I don't like that I have to do the gi.
Yeah.
Also, fucked my fingers up.
Yeah.
So wait a second on this topic because we're gonna get carried away, I rewatched before we get carried away, I rewatched when I edit the video after that, I rewatched it and I'm like, I mentioned that I was gonna ask this question, I never did,
We get carried away.
Yeah, before we get carried away, did you ever do you started in the gi, I'm assuming, obviously, right? At what age were you, 15 or so?
I was 17.
17, okay, so you started in the gi, and so did you exclusively train in the gi at the time?
No, I did both. They offered gi and no gi because I originally got into jiu-jitsu through the concept of like I watched Matt Hughes versus Frank Trigg, and I watched Matt Hughes take his back
that was
and do
a
the
great
naked
match.
choke, and I was like, "What is that? That looks like real life."
It's funny because he wasn't even a jiu-jitsu guy.
I know, and I was like, "I want to do whatever that is," and so I found Elite MMA. I walked in there. I sat in my car for like 30 minutes because I was terrified. And then I rolled with Highwind, the black belt, and he guillotined me. He reneged. I didn't know what was happening, but I was like, this is like real life.
You didn't do anything else before wrestling?
No, nothing.
Yeah.
I did basketball.
Right.
Know?
I mean, hey, it's nothing wrong with that. I did basketball too.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
I was a wrestler. We don't like
I
that.
knew nothing. I knew nothing. I just was like, that is really cool. I want to try that out. And I got hooked from day one. And so from the very beginning, I trained gi and no gi. There was another guy there, Forrest Flannery. I can't remember what his fucking online handle is, but he was the one who taught a lot of our no-gi classes, and he introduced me to leg locks because he was a Sambo black belt under Lloyd Irvin, I think,
man,
originally.
You've been lucky.
I got so lucky.
Dude.
So lucky.
At that point, that's what, 17 years ago? Like, what, 17, 18
yeah,
years
17,
ago?
18 years ago, yeah.
So we're talking, what year is this?
2006, 2007,
yes.
yeah.
At that point, to
That's
be
when I
doing
just
leg
moved to
locks,
California.
we're not talking about. I mean,
That was a
probably talking
no-no,
knee bars
too.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was
still
looked.
a little different.
I tapped a black belt when I was a blue belt at a Texas tournament, and it was an open weight, and people were mad at me for tapping this dude with a toe
Yeah.
hold because they were like, "That's dirty. You're like, quit doing foot locks." You
I
need to
remember when I
learn."
started. It was They were looked.
Yeah.
People would be like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
Almost like wrist
Weren't they,
locks
like,
too.
Throwing shoes and stuff.
People
at,
hated that.
The Brazilians were throwing shoes at. There was a tournament. Which one was it? Was it IBJJF?
I don't
Wasn't
know.
Gustavo tell me that?
I'm
Maybe.
sure back in the day in Brazil and shit.
No, even here, but in the Worlds in Long Beach, but I think that
They were throwing shoes because somebody was doing a foot
somebody
lock.
did a foot lock. They started throwing shoes at them and stuff, like flip flops and shit.
That's crazy.
But yeah.
yeah.
But for my early career, I think I got, like you said, very fortunate.
I think so, yeah.
To be exposed to that as like, oh, this is acceptable. And only later on did I see from other people that But really, even by the time I got to purple belt and then brown belt, the people that I was training with were like, no, you're supposed to learn these things.
Yeah.
And I sought them out because I kind of had that in the back of my mind. You know?
Yeah.
I was not yesterday. A few days ago, I was rolling at another place, and someone got. It was someone next to me rolling, and it was a brown belt against blue belt, and he got bicep sliced. And he says, "Ah, shit, that's some brown belt shit." And I'm like, I mean, if it is if you don't teach it, right?
It is if you don't teach it.
Yeah.
Right. So I heard it, and like right away I thought of that because I was rolling with some other guy there, and I'm like, the guy just said it after he tapped. I'm like, that's funny, you know.
And it's like,
yeah.
why?
Right.
Why is it
Exactly.
taboo?
Right.
Like, I think that was a thing too that I never quite understood these taboos or these rules, and it really did limit jiu-jitsu for a long time. Where they're
Yeah.
like, no, we don't do that. Why? Well, because we don't do that. It's dangerous. Is it more dangerous than these other things?
Yeah, everything's dangerous.
I think that there's a lot more dislocated shoulders and hyperextension. Okay, I'm not saying broken arms and stuff because it's mostly hyperextension, but a lot of dislocated shoulders from kimuras.
Right.
Where people don't tap because they're idiots, and those same idiots are the ones that don't tap to heel hooks and leg locks, and then they label those dangerous. But the kimura is a saint because. You know, of Helio Gracie and Kimura.
Helio Gracie, when he invented leverage in order to survive against, I remember the story well, but as it was told to me.
He invented leverage.
Right, because he had to like win a moral victory over the great Kimura, and then after he tore his shoulder apart, honorably named the move after the guy. That's how I remember the story being told to me.
The catch wrestlers just hate it. They're like, it's a double wrist lock. No, it's not. You're not locking wrists. Forget about it.
Whatever.
I'll watch some of those videos just I'll watch them and I'm like,
Speaking of which, how do you do the kimura? Put the bottle down when you're done. Yeah, and then
How do I do the kimura?
Not how you do it. How do you do the grip on the kimura? Do you use thumb or no thumb?
So what I like to do is I like to go like think of the wrist as a like I'm trying to put my hand onto the knuckle, the bottom knuckle, this one here, in order to rev it like a motorcycle. Right? I don't give a shit. Thumb, no thumb. 9 times out of 10, I don't care. It's really more about where is my hand on this hand.
For control.
Yeah.
What if you actually connect with the wrist first? So sometimes we'll go here,
slide down.
and then you're gonna slide down. But when you do it at first, you use thumb or no thumb?
Yeah, generally thumb.
Thumb?
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so
it's in order to stop sideways motion.
Sideways motion.
Because the issue I think is people will start to create. I'm going to fight with the hand and create sideways motion, and maybe they'll run it against the thumb. Maybe they won't. Yeah. But it's generally that's just the way I do it. I think sometimes I'll adapt and switch it off, but I can't say
I'm
it
a
really
no thumb
matters.
believer.
What do you? You're a no thumb.
No thumb, yeah.
Because.
Because I think that the grip itself is weak.
Oh, that
The
can be
grip itself
broken
is weak.
easier.
Like, it can be broken easier. Like if you deal with someone like strong and all that stuff, I feel weakness in my arm way more so than if I'm no thumb. But that's me, right? I've heard both versions, and the reason I'm asking is because catch wrestlers, from what I've seen on YouTube, swear by using a thumb.
Yeah, and I think it's because they also like to go for the hand more, and so they'll like put the thumb on the hand.
Yeah. No, if you're right, if you're using the hand, you probably should be grabbing around the knuckles, basically. Like you do, right? So a thumb will make sense there.
I'm sure some catch wrestler will be like, "He's doing the double wrist lock. He's just calling it," and I'm like, "Dog, whatever."
That's what I'm saying, right?
Use whatever semantic language.
Call it what you like.
If that makes you happy, good.
I wonder
you.
what they call it in Sambo.
Some Russian word, I don't know.
No, I'm sure that shit existed in judo way before Kimura hit it, because
everywhere.
Because if it existed in catch wrestling like a century and a half ago, it must have existed in judo.
The pancration, they had the hammer lock. Like it's
correct.
Probably
So
been a thing since time immemorial.
Yeah,
it's a shoulder lock either way you look at it. Although it could blow your elbow, but still,
whatever.
But in any case, yeah.
Do you want to talk about ecological?
We were talking about that. We invited you specifically because we plan on inviting you anyway. But you had an opinion on ecological effect, and don't worry if we find this opinion repulsive, we'll just edit it out.
So anyway, I think it fucking.
No, anyway, so I with Kyle, I'm sure I don't even have to ask him a question. He can give us a spiel on it right now. So.
I was excited because Kyle is smarter than your average bear to me, and when we had like an Instagram conversation kind of going on, and he just was like, "I've got some stuff to say about the ecological approach," and Lubo and I were like, "Oh well, shit. Okay, do tell, do tell." So we're a little excited about this.
Yeah, I'll start off with I think it's really important when we talk about people frame the conversation, I think, incorrectly, where they say it's drilling versus ecological approach, and there is no definition. They are offering their own definition of drilling, and what they typically mean when they say the word drilling, they don't define it. They're not saying static rote drilling, this move to this move to this move in a sequential order. That is generally what people mean when they're saying and shitting on drilling. Whereas
as in different techniques or also
sequence of techniques,
sequence of the same technique belonging to the same chain of moves,
right? Okay. In the same position or whatever.
Just because sometimes, I think when I'll call drilling sometimes. Lubo showed me a Kimura. He shows me a Kimura, and then I'll do that one move.
I think that's the same. It's the same thing, and you can build.
It's part
on
of
that.
the whole move, part of the chain. But I think
Sure.
he means the way traditionally it's thought out.
Right. Is you go, okay, everybody, you got 5 minutes to do this one sequence again and again and again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that what they mean by when you only say that's drilling, sure, that can be not as effective as an ecological approach, which to me is more about positional sparring as a drill. So I generally find a lot of the debate to be totally nonsensical because they're framing these two things incorrectly. Rather than saying it's this and not this, never this, it's like, no. These are steps in your toolbox to get someone good. But you shouldn't ignore the benefits, in my opinion, of ecological approach in such that it gives you the objective. What is the objective from the front headlock? Put their weight onto their elbows, drag them out in order to do a go behind. If they expose themselves by putting their hands on the floor, they can no longer defend the neck. They have given you the objectives. Then you can do a rote drill from there and progress that into a positional sparring. To me, I think most of the time people are like putting their own baggage onto this debate and they're not understanding what people are saying from each side.
I think people are labeling it as black and white.
Exactly.
And there is so much gray in there.
Yes.
And I think that the gray is the best because if you only rely on the black or white, whichever camp you belong to, which is, I think it's insane to belong to one of those camps only. But, I think if you belong to a gym that doesn't allow you to do one or the other for reasons, then you're just stuck in 1990 something where you are not allowed to do leg locks because they're dangerous.
Right. You're limiting yourself for no reason.
Yes, for no reason, pretty much.
I will say the other thing that I do like about the ecological approach, going back to the idea of its focuses on the objective, is that it is not married to a specific sequence. It doesn't say this technique version from the front headlock attack is the way to do it. And I think that a lot of old school jiu-jitsu, from what I remember and grew up with, is that it was, this is the way Master blankety blank teaches it, and we're gonna do it this way.
Right.
Is there ever any way to think about it doing it better? No. And I think that a lot of times in older black belts that I've rolled with, they're so stuck on the sequence, the recipe, that they forget that the objective is the purpose, not the recipe is the way to accomplish the objective. You're not just trying to fucking do the same version of a technique. You're trying to accomplish the objective. Get them on their fucking back. Get past their guard. Make them carry your weight. There are many ways to accomplish that, and I think that it prevents them from updating how they do things.
I think I love that. I think there's so many different variations of if I'm going against a dude that's twice my size, or if I'm going against a girl,
right?
Or a girl, there's different things that happen that are going to take you away from that the specificity of that recipe.
Yes.
And for years, I would be like, I'd learn a move in class, and then say, similar to today, we learned a move, and then when we roll from that position. I would try the move, and it's like I couldn't get it, and I'm like, there's a difference between drilling and then when you add some live, some life in there. Right. And I think the ecological approach is really good at overcoming that part.
Yes. Matt Thornton out of a Straight Blast Gym has a really good approach that he calls isolation, or I think it was introduction of a technique. Then he has isolation, which I would refer to as the ecological approach. It's that intermediary step where it's here's the thing. Your objective is to beat the knee line in the thing we were talking about today. It is to get chest-to-chest pressure. I've given you the objective. Gustavo gave you the method to achieve that objective. Then you focus and stay there until you're able to then integrate it into the larger piece of your game. And I think that a lot of times we do two gears, sparring and rope drilling. And we don't focus on that intermediate layer. And I think that that's where flow sparring, play rolling, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that's where I think ecological approach has filled in the gap and offered a lot of people a shortcut to integrating a technique into their system.
Integrating it into their system. I love that.
I've had a problem with people who swear by ecological effect because it's the new thing, right?
It's the new thing, yeah.
People who swear by it and the rest of it.
Yeah.
We're talking about black and white again, but now we're talking about the white or the black, whichever you want to label it as, and you're dissing the other one. And you're not even thinking about the shades of it. And it's a good fucking thing, but you you don't understand that if you have someone from the street first day from the street and you tell him your objective is to beat the knee without actually giving them the like, why is he beating the knee in the first place? You know, like it makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm curious as to what they say about that. And I'm going to watch some videos
a lot
after
of times,
this.
I think what they say is like they go even tighter, even narrower for someone like that, where it's your job is to put them flat on their back from here, from half guard. Okay, how do you get them flat on the back? There is holding the head. There's the underhook. There is this way. Very slowly try to put this person flat on their back. They constrain it even tighter.
But you're telling them, okay, but you're saying, no, hang on a second.
Just tell them the move.
Because Kyle, you just said, how do you do it? And then you explain it. So here's my point.
Right.
From what I've seen, not without mentioning names and stuff, you know, from what I've seen, the guy who actually has shot the videos on YouTube is saying, I don't tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem for me.
It's when you tell them. Do you tell them after they go, dude, I can't do it. They keep pushing away. Yes. Oh, so they're creating space. Interesting. Let's focus on how to solve that problem that you're encountering.
So what you're saying is that you're creating a problem and then you're finding a solution to it, as opposed to giving a solution to a problem that doesn't exist yet.
It's also a structure of class.
In your head.
Yes, and it's also how they structure a class, and how I also structure a class as well, where I go, here's our objective, here's the position we're going to be in. 2 minutes, everybody feel it out. Do you feel the problems that are happening from achieving this objective? Now here's one answer. Here is the opposing answer, that if I have an underhook, then I cannot flatten someone's back out, or it's easier for me to flatten you out in half guard. But if they're creating space and they're not allowing me to get there, maybe it's a near side underhook instead.
Right.
And so I think what they would say is they just break and structure the pedagogy of class differently than the way it's historically been taught, which is warm up, drill, spar.
Right.
I can dig it. It just seems like...
Yeah, it changes. How do I think about teaching if it's not, and it's like you got to think, I look to, and I think it's really important to look to like sports and how they develop it, especially sports that have to go in schools, like college wrestling or football, basketball, etc., boxing. Who are the people that get paid a metric fuck ton of money to develop athletes quickly? And what is the way that they teach people? I do think, unfortunately, jiu-jitsu is a business for the most part. It's not a sport. It's not a scholastic thing. They don't get the benefit of having you at 5 years old.
Right.
They usually get you when you're a 30-year-old software engineer, you know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it does have to be different. And I think that's where it becomes a little murky and hard to say which approach, how much of each approach, when to integrate that. Is that better for intermediate people, or is that better for people on the street? What's the mix? And I think that's when it becomes, like you guys said, you're like, fuck, I don't know when to do what.
Yeah, that's a great insight.
The way because I've been experimenting with different approaches, I have never restricted it as much, right? I have never done it to that point where I restricted, okay, we're going to play this game where all you got to do is beat the elbow, whatever the position, right? I've never done it this way. I've done it like, for example, I'll give you an example. We work on side control. I tell them the only thing I'm asking from you is you can go to mount. You can take the back if they turn away. Now, mind you, I'm not talking to people who are first day.
Yeah,
okay, so they're white belts, but not first day, right? Like seasoned white belts. So I'm telling them, start from side control. I want you to start with cross face and underhook, so head and arm control, chest to chest. You know, however you want to position your legs, I don't care. If you want to take a chance and let them recover guard, then don't put the knee there. It's up to you. I'm leaving it up to you because you're going to learn, you know. But I'm asking you to start chest to chest. And you can only do one of three things. You can maintain that, or you can go to mount or take the back if they start turning away. Let's say you lose the position and start turning away. Take the back. I encourage you because, you know, these are progressions. The next round, so I observe it. So I have a plan on what I want to do for the next round, but I also see what they're doing. And if most people or a lot of people are doing continuously the same mistake, you know, and they get reversed all the time. For example, you see that people are leaning over a little bit too much, which is not a new thing among white belts. So you just show them. You say, okay, see, you're leaning a little bit too much. There's a few people here, so I'm going to address it all together. Sag on your butt a little bit. Don't work so much on clamping in. Do this, do that. And then people are like, well, yeah, but it's kind of hard to hold him in here. Well, that's the point. You're not just going to hold him there. You're going to go to north-south. You're going to switch your arms positioning. So this is what we're going to do the next round. Right. So now people actually realize why you have to switch. Because if I just tell them, the objective is to stay on top. You can switch between positions and stuff. And then when they start switching without reason, they get...
I have a question.
Guard recovered.
What is the purpose of side control?
The purpose?
What's the purpose of side control?
Well, side control is firstly not awarded with points. Side control is a kind of transitional position between passing the guard or takedown, whichever way you want to put it, which scores points, and advancing to the next best thing, which is either knee on belly or mount. The problem with side control is your hands are busy. For striking purposes, it's pretty ineffective.
But you're not getting struck too.
You're not getting struck.
You've told me how we get to side control, the value of side control in different points tournaments, and the problems with it. What is the purpose of side control?
A transition to advance to a better position, hopefully. Or control itself. It's a pin.
It's a pin.
It's a pin.
Okay.
And notably, it's a shoulder pin.
Right. So ultimately, the purpose of side control is to keep their chest pinned in order to advance to a better spot, right? Or isolate a limb. Oh no, we canceled, right?
No, it's okay. The other one's fine.
And to me, I think that when you start focusing on the objective of your job is to pin the shoulders. Side control is a method to pin the shoulders. It's not, that's it. Right. The purpose of side control is to assist in pinning the shoulders to prevent someone from creating space between you and them, either to get up or recover guard. And so when you think about jiu-jitsu and grappling from that lens of wait, what is the purpose of this position? Then you get to determine, like you said, there's a problem with that position. That answer, it's an answer to keeping the shoulders pinned, right?
Yeah.
There are many ways to keep the shoulders pinned. And so then you can say, is side control really the thing I need to be teaching people? Or do I need to tell you, your job is to keep their shoulders pinned so that they can't create space and get up or recover a guard? Okay. Don't let them do those things.
Yeah, that's ecological sounding.
So what you're saying is you're giving the objective without naming the problem. So in other words, you're saying keep their shoulders pinned. You can do it if you want with
Would you start them in the right position? You start them there.
I'd start them in at least a variation of side control.
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, listen, the cross face here, I wouldn't even need to call it the cross face. You're controlling their shoulders with your chest, and you're on the inside, which means it's harder for them to shove you away. Maybe I'll give, and then I'm just going to say, just go from here. See what happens. I can't, every time I try to keep their shoulders pinned, they roll me over. Interesting, okay? So your weight's going too far over them. Or every time I try to stay here, they just push my face and start getting away to guard. Got it. So you're allowing a frame in between you and them.
Now this is like a white belt class conversation exchange is going on.
Yep.
Okay, because I'll say this. This is very provocative to me. I'm far from a white belt, but I'm just trying to think.
What's the benefit for a purple or brown or something?
Right. Would I get as much from this exchange as a white? If it was me and a white belt in class together,
you would have more answers to problems. But then when black belts or whoever would present a problem to you that you're like, I don't understand. Even if I do try to shrimp, or even if I do try to do a turn away elbow push, Kyle just keeps wrist riding me and moving his head over. Oh, okay. So now you have a narrower set of problems that you don't have solutions for.
And as the problems come to me, as I go against you instead of the white belt, that basic conversation becomes more valuable.
Yes.
Because I understand more.
And to me, I think structuring a class where you do that and you give answers to, it's is everyone having an issue with that? Yeah, dude, everyone just turns away and pushes the hand and they're doing the Marcelo Garcia elbow push on me. Got it. Okay, we've identified a problem here. And I think that's where the technical teaching comes in. And that's the way that I have at least seen the ecological approach
So you're doing
work.
a feedback
correct.
Based on that. So that's what I'm saying, right? So you get to the point where, okay, the first round went like this, and, people have this kind of problem, that kind of problem, so fix it like this, fix it like that. Now let's try something.
Now let's drill that a little bit. Let's
Yes.
drill the answer to that. And I think that shifts the training, like, order of operations, and allows people to get to the problems and get the live technique, get the live movement sooner than rote drilling, where they're like, I don't even know why I'm doing the Kimura to set. What am I doing? Why am I doing? Because then, like you said, we're actually seeing the problems that people are facing in the class rather than what I had an agenda to come teach.
I've seen on YouTube classes being filmed with Ecological, the one where everything is strictly restricted.
I don't know about that.
Is the following, for example. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but with that being said, it's basically, for those who haven't seen it, the goal is to have, so let's say I'm playing supine guard and there's a person in front of me. My goal is to keep my feet and knees between us, which is basically the essence of guard, right?
Right.
So
They've given you the objective.
the objective, right? Keep it there. Don't let them pass. And then when they pass, reset, right? So now, I have seen people who define insanity, basically. They make the same mistake over and over again without actually posing the question. I rode recently with somebody like that.
Sometimes they might not see it.
Well, that's my point. So I'm not saying that they're insane. I'm saying that this is the definition of insanity, right? But I'm saying that they're probably not aware. I rode recently with somebody like that. I kept doing the same thing to them. And we rode like the round robins round after round. I kept doing the same thing, same mistake. So I kept doing the same thing.
Did you tell them, or you just kept doing it?
Well, here's the
because
thing. I kept doing it to see how much more I can keep doing it.
Okay.
And also, I wanted to work on the fucking thing. No.
That's it.
I'll do something twice to somebody, like I'll do something twice.
I
And
wanted to do it to work a little bit on it, but
I think you can then go after the roll.
I did.
Yeah.
So after the roll, after I did it for like 2 or 3 times, I'm like, this guy keeps, no, more than 2 or 3, like 4 times maybe. I'm like, this guy keeps doing this. Like, you're not learning from that mistake. So I told him, just don't put your leg up. That, don't put this leg up. Don't give it to me.
Did you have a chance to roll them again after he gave that advice? And did it work?
Well, he put his leg up. He put it down right away. Okay. As soon as I reached, he put it down right away.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
So it works from that perspective. So the guy maybe learned something that day, whatever, But my point here is that people keep making the same mistakes sometimes without realizing it.
Yes.
And if both of us are, or maybe if I'm like one of those guys that's just gonna keep coriandering around and just doing reps on you and not tell you. But most people, for the most part, like to teach. White belt teaches another white belt, etc. So it's like kind of like it works, but you might never realize what kind of mistake you're making and why you're getting past and all that.
Right.
And you need the feedback.
Right.
I would argue that as a coach, my job is to encourage the upper belts to then be the ones to go, hey, you notice that I just keep getting past that leg?
Oh, for sure.
Why do you think that is? I don't know. Well, let's try it again. Oh, so how could we not allow me to get the inside space here? And I think that that's just I would argue that like they would probably say, well, that is ecological approach, is that you talk to him afterwards and then he got another chance to improve. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, if that's what you want to call that, then sure,
I get it.
whatever.
As long as the kid's learning.
But the question is, do you actually address it afterwards, or do you move on to the next drill? Well, you have to. Question is, what happens, in those strict or do you go to the next drill where
the next drill that you progress to? I think you address the problems that are happening.
That's what I think. That's
I would think so too.
That would be that's how I've been working lately with. Lately, I'd say I kind of wanted to experiment for a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, with different approaches. I've been doing the old approach, the old approach, the normal approach for a while. So I'm like, I don't have to experiment with that. But I did experiment with something else, which I saw at another gym. And I want to hear your opinion on that, because we mentioned it last time. You know how usually you teach, let's say, because of time.
If you got an hour class, max 3 techniques, max.
And you're teaching the same move, but you're teaching a chain usually, right?
I don't know about a chain.
Okay, hold on.
Keep
Before
going.
you say something.
Sure.
That's the question. So I was at another gym where they actually showed three separate techniques having nothing to do with one another.
See, that's weird to me.
What is that? What does that even look like?
That's weird to me.
Okay, I'll give you an example. So maybe you will show on a Sotogari, and then unrelated to it, you will show, let's say, a finish from the back, just whatever, and then you will show maybe a Kimura, something.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Well,
What?
right. Does
A
that make
low
sense to you?
single, like three totally
They have
different
nothing
moves.
to do with one another, but I have not experimented with that.
I think that's the dumbest shit.
I don't
I've
know
ever
why
heard.
you would do that. That's like going to school and I'm learning division and then history in the same class.
And
It's
then
like,
you go
dude,
learn, like
give me
grammar and
something-
syntax. That makes no sense, and that's clearly just a sign of somebody who wanted to show those things. They had an agenda coming in, rather than they have like what's technique sequences, not chains, need to be. They are recipes to illustrate a concept of a dilemma, in my opinion. So let's go back to the front headlock example. I would probably not show like the snap down of the front headlock. I would either show, maybe it's the snap down. Here's how we get to a front headlock. I fake in order to force their leg back. That means that their hips are too far away from their hands, and I can snap them down easier. If their head's under their hips, it's going to be hard to snap somebody down. I illustrated a concept, right? I illustrated when to do the snap down. Boom, they're on their hands. Next, what is the objective for the front headlock? I need to get you to your elbows, not your hands, so that you are less athletic, okay? Dragging it like an arc, pretty simple. What is your objective from the front headlock? First, it's a go behind. That's the primary thing, improve position, not necessarily anything else. That would be like the extent of a class I would teach, and then the next week it would be, okay, we know how to get to the front headlock. We know the primary objective, go behind. What are the problems that occur? People look for their single leg. All right. If they look for the single leg, they're not defending their neck. It is impossible to do both at the same time, right? Can't do both. And it's used to illustrate the concept of how do I create a pressure, a dilemma to achieve an objective. You either get the go behind because they're trying to defend the neck, or they're exposing the neck and you can attack for the guillotine, which then they go back to defending, which you can then complete the go behind. That is what I think where sometimes people get teaching things wrong. They teach a sequence of a progression versus they teach a chain of techniques rather than what is a sequence in order to instill an understanding of an objective through a dilemma. Boy, I think I just said a lot of bullshit right there, but
No. It makes
I hope that
perfect
makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It's less so a set of techniques. It's more conceptually not conceptually, but more like situationally what may occur and what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
I can give you another example just to make sure we understand this correctly, and for people who got confused watching this to understand this correctly, because if you're on someone's back, for example, and you're doing your best to maintain the back control, chest to the shoulders,
Chest to back, in the middle back.
and you're doing it what you can, but they keep slipping out, and you just can't do anything
Creating
anymore.
chest to back disconnection.
Right. So you can't do more. You get to the mount, right? So you practice that as a you know what I mean. Get to the mount. In other words, you leave the back. So for example, to get to the mount.
If they move their shoulders offline and put their back on the floor, they do not have the ability to quickly build height to stop you from coming to the mount, right? And the mount is when your hips are over them. So that is the dilemma. They cannot do both at the same time. They cannot both create chest to back disconnection and get their hips high enough to defend the mount.
And conversely, you cannot take the back if you don't have back exposure because their back is on the ground already.
Right.
Bingo.
Especially the near shoulder. So what happens is you get to the mount, and then, for example, from the mount, you do what you can. They turn away, you take the back again,
Right.
and then at the end, just to make everything fun and games, you throw an armbar You know,
No.
just but this loop, which Sean Williams calls that a loop.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So this loop is basically the idea of and that, by the way, changed my game ever since I went to that seminar.
I love that.
And this loop is the same thing that you're explaining. Is the dilemma, sometimes trilemma, depending on the amount of submissions,
offensive cycle, whatever you
available
want to call
too.
it.
Yeah. But it does give you a lot of like options from one small compact,
Right.
you know, from one route that you can take. You know, it gives you different branches on the same tree,
Right.
essentially, that you can climb.
And it's connected. One, you cannot.
It's the same tree.
Right. You cannot, just like in boxing, if we're going to use boxing, for example, I cannot defend the center line and a hook at the same time. So if I'm going there and I fake a jab and then throw a right hook, you cannot catch the jab and defend. I guess in that instance, that's a left hook. So
Yeah.
more left hook there. Sorry, I'm backwards. But I cannot defend both at the same time. It's that my hand cannot be in two places at once.
Right. It's the dilemma, and
It's the dilemma.
more so than that.
It is the art of martial arts, in my opinion.
Now, how would you approach that? Because I think that this is great if you have like a high school team, and by the way, that's how they've been teaching wrestling forever, like to school kids, because the same school kids come to the classes over and over and over.
They have more time.
And also, there's another thing with high schoolers, middle schoolers, especially, but high schoolers also. I mean, their lifespan.
Their lifestyle, yeah.
No, I said lifespan. I meant attention span. I'm sorry. I meant attention span is, even with adults, man, it's so fucking hard. Sometimes you look at them at 7 a.m. and they're sleeping.
No, they don't want to be there. They do want to be there, but
they don't want to be there.
Attention.
They don't want to. Yeah. So it's like the thing with kids is especially more so is that you got to give them something to do, and they have the fucking energy to go for 2 hours, which is a wrestling practice, right?
Yeah.
They got the energy to go from the beginning. And I've seen. I haven't trained wrestling, but I've seen wrestling practice, and
It's intense.
Dude, it's crazy.
It's not just intense, but what they do is they
can't
show the
believe-
technique. The coaches show the technique, and then the technique is drilled. Maybe they'll do it a couple of times. Let's say
Over
speaking of
and
front headlock, different objective. In wrestling, go behind obviously, but you can also do the what's called the dresser dump and stuff like this, you know, because you have to put them on their back. So it's not necessarily to take the back. You go behind to score points, but if you want to expose their back to the mat, it's a different objective. Again, objectives is what matters.
Right.
So they show a technique. So let's say today, guys, we can go to the back, but we can also put them on their back, you know. So we can go behind or we can put them to their back. So how do we do that? We do it like this. Try that out. So they do the same thing we do in Jiu-Jitsu. They try it for like, they got longer practices, obviously. They try it for like 2 or 3 minutes, like back and forth, everybody. And then they do it in a little bit of a more live manner.
Sure.
So now the coach says
100%.
this. So this is what I've been doing in my latest practices, classes. This is what the coach says. Guys, start with a front headlock. Not front headlock in the sense that you're locking them in. Front headlock like armpit and
Armpit and chin,
chin. And then your choice. It depends on what the guy on the bottom does. If he gives you the back, the go behind, you take it because you score. If he doesn't, if he starts doing these things, you know, then you go to your other options. And if you know more options than what we taught today, by all means use it, because you know everybody learns.
I'm curious to hear. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no.
I was gonna say I'm curious to hear from like I learned how to wrestle from Eastern Europeans and Iranians who were in like North Dallas. How their approach to me felt different than the approaches that when Americans taught me wrestling. Where
How so?
in the sense that they focused on the same thing of objectives, and they would go, your goal is to get a little bit more flowy, rather when Americans have always taught me be like, collar tie club here, go, boom, snap it in down,
100%.
boom, get in there tough, you're tough, you're
Heard that about
tough.
Russians too. Russians go more flowy, more like.
And the Iranians like, no, brother, how can you learn? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then they're like, just stay here, see what happens. Oh, what are you trying to do? I don't know. What is my objective? I don't know. And then they would kind of give that in flow, and they'd
Funny
say,
you said the Iranians, and then you go.
Yeah, they go underhook.
You go to the underhook.
Yeah, that was it. They go underhook, head in the ear, and then they're looking to be like fake, boom, front
This is so
headlock.
underutilized in folk style wrestling. This and Aaron Brooks does it. You know, he's the king of the Iranian underhook.
Yeah. I love that stuff.
But it's so underutilized because there's so many. It doesn't change anything about the folk style.
I'm curious to hear, like, what was it? How did they teach you that you felt is different than the way that people teach jiu-jitsu?
I wrestled high school and in college, Old Dominion University, and my little Dover High School. The culture was Dan Gable.
Yeah.
Technique, when I was learning, technique was cool, but toughness was the thing. Mm-hmm. You learn these little moves, and okay, I started wrestling really late. I started wrestling my sophomore year of high school. So my coach, Harry Rigby, shout out, I love you forever. He was like, Ian, we don't have time with you to learn some stuff. So you just need to learn a couple of moves. You need to learn a takedown from this side, a takedown from this side. You stand up, that's it. And then maybe some riding. So he narrowed things for me. He was like, look, you don't need 10 moves. No. You don't have time for all this. So a couple of moves. I got good with a duck under. I got good with a low single. And then a blast double. Yeah, Pretty much that's it. When I was on the bottom, it's just stand up. It's one thing.
Right.
So
simple.
Very simple. Very simple.
I believe in just standing up.
And when you have a question about something, the answer is go harder.
Interesting.
You didn't go hard enough. You lost because you didn't go hard enough. Now obviously there's you did this and you did that wrong, but it was the culture was just being tough. And the Gable speeches, it was my college coach, Gray Simons, he's on the all-world team.
Oh, you told me,
from all time.
Yeah.
He was like whatever his weight class was. And Gray Simons was like this big dude.
Square.
Bow legs.
Yeah.
But there is a video, I think he was born in like the 20s.
Wow.
Shit.
But I did see a video, black and white video. There's footage of him doing this, like a quick takedown, and he was just so nimble. Back in those days, they did a lot of gymnastics.
Yep, gymnastics.
So these dudes didn't look crazy, but they were super strong.
The Russians are known for that.
Yep. That's exactly
not for gymnastics, for gymnastics
using that as a
training.
Not just wrestling, bro. In
that's what I'm saying.
In any training,
They're
anything.
super,
that's what the Iranians did.
Yeah.
Just so strong. And when I was in college,
Yeah.
he was old and he was strong then. I think I told you when he threw me suplex straight back. Dude, he was like 60-something then. I was a monster.
You're lucky he didn't get a heart attack doing that.
I'm lucky he didn't throw me on my head. But that's the one thing I remember. It was less. Jiu-jitsu is so, the technique. Technique. You can be little and you don't.
I feel like that sometimes holds jiu-jitsu back, where we get too focused on like technical collection. I want to know all the moves. It's fucking Pokemon.
Like it becomes mathematics almost.
You know, I've noticed, we've all noticed that you go up against a wrestler, especially a college guy. But let's say fourth year high school wrestler who wrestled throughout the 4 years of high school.
That's like a tough round.
That's a tough round.
A lot of times, people at that point who have gone through the 4 years of high school wrestling and competed, they've also wrestled since before then. So most likely they got probably 6-7 years of experience of wrestling, which is the equivalent of purple belt, pretty much, right? In jiu-jitsu.
For sure.
In terms of time frame.
Now, if not more.
If not more, yeah. So some wrestlers they started fucking what's his name, Jason Noel, 5 or 6 years old. The guy's
and about to year round.
That's right. And
hours
they're going year round,
day.
hours a day. They have more mat time collectively.
Correct.
Yeah.
And their practices are fucking longer.
Yep.
And they have to
strength and conditioning.
And the quality of training partners. No.
Yes.
I'm not saying anything about anybody else, but we have.
It's just more bodies.
We have people that are casual. I mean, we're casuals.
Yeah.
We're not professionals.
They got tough rounds every single day.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So
Every day is
they
tough.
go through it like a profession with them.
It is because, if you think about it, the pipeline for developing talent is more similar to football than it is jiu-jitsu. Because it is not a business, it is how many kids are dedicated and can I throw at them that are going to be all there with the same objective, the same goal. That culture is not available in jiu-jitsu. So to me, sometimes where I'm like, man, if a purple belt can even hang with a 4-year high school wrestler, that should speak to the power of jiu-jitsu.
It does, and I think so. And when you have a wrestler so my point here was when you have a wrestler who comes in and he's gone through that, and he just fucking smashes you, and you're like purple brown belt, and you're like, man, this is fucking crazy, you know? Like, I've trained all these years, and this guy is a kid and he's wrestled, and he's never done jiu-jitsu before. But hang on a second. When he started training, his objectives were different. He was taught to stay on top. Not to stay on top necessarily only, but to stand. So if you're playing your guard and you think that you're going to sweep the guy, wrestle up and all that, this guy is going to stay there. He's not going down.
Hand fight, push you away.
I've swept a wrestler, and I'm coming up, and he's up before me like 2 minutes ago. He's up already, you know.
Yep.
And I'm like, how is this guy so athletic? It's not that he doesn't look it. Well, it's because he's done that a million times, because he was taught to do this as a main thing. Like we're taught, for example, as a kid,
many more options.
As a kid,
they've developed.
Get up.
One fucking
My thing was just if someone's on
that,
top of me,
that's what I'm saying.
up.
That's what I'm saying.
They have depth.
I went with a high school wrestler the other day, and I think a couple of weeks ago maybe, and he was out of high school already, and we stand a little bit and all that. The rounds were not long enough for him to toss me around, but I went down to guard too, and I started doing like half guard wrestle ups and shit, and I managed to sweep him. The guy was up before I could actually finish the sweep, and it's just crazy because he has his objectives in place that are different from my objectives.
Yeah.
You see, what I'm thinking about is not what he's thinking about. Now, the difference in MMA is that we're both thinking about the same thing.
Yes.
Right.
And that's why, unfortunately for jiu-jitsu people, the MMA objective is closer related to wrestling.
Yes.
Regardless of freestyle or even sambo. You know, where pinning has some weight, in other words,
there's a win condition
because there's a win condition. You can't be pinned.
Yes.
You know, I spoke to I don't know if you guys, you probably, or maybe it was when you were not here. You were in Oregon. There was a gentleman from Ukraine.
Nate.
Yeah, Nate.
Yeah.
Oh, you trained with him.
I got to train with him before I left.
Okay, cool. So Nate told me that in sambo you have combat sambo, sports sambo, whatever sambo you look at, you have this thing that they pin you down. They have to hold you down for an X amount of seconds to score points. And if they don't, kind of like in wrestling, but in wrestling the match ends if you pin both shoulders or something like this. Whereas here, they actually can end the match if they pin you down for like 15 or 20 seconds or something. Don't quote me on that. It is. But you do your, and then obviously they score if they pin you for less than that.
Yeah.
Kind of like near fall in folk style.
Or like Yoko's shit.
Right. So, but you look at all these rules and you're thinking, of course these motherfuckers are going to be good. They're fucking getting up at any opportunity they have. We are rewarded to play guard.
Right.
So, now, is that, in my opinion, what is the purpose of learning jiu-jitsu? For me, the reason why I got into this is to be good at fighting. Jiu-jitsu is a method to be good at fighting for me. That's the objective. So I have incorporated over the last probably 8 years now. Geez, a lot more wrestling, and that was what I really picked up in North Dallas from those Iranians was like, here is how jiu-jitsu can be combined with wrestling, and like you guys said, don't learn a ton of things because those wrestlers are going to have so much more depth than you. Learn how to connect to what's the one entry that you can do in MMA, that you can do in jiu-jitsu, that I could do in wrestling. And how do I get to those staging positions and then just spend a metric fuck time of depth there so that I don't care if you're a college wrestler. If I have an underhook and I put you against the wall, it's over. I have spent so much more time there doing foot trips, doing my sequences. If I can get to the pinch headlock, how many more hours have I spent there than other people? And that's the way I start thinking about it from when I want to learn stand-up grappling is I don't want a bunch of options. I want my sequences that I can achieve regardless of the context of the sport.
By the way, wrestlers, at least in America, practice in the same fashion. Wrestlers, they practice everything, but as they become more and more seasoned, I spoke to a high school coach, and I asked him specifically, hey, you look at a fourth-year high schooler that competes, that's about to go to college and wrestle. How many techniques does he have that he actually does in matches? I'm not talking about takedowns only.
Yeah.
Because you take somebody down, but that's folk style. Yeah. You gotta ride, gotta, everybody has their preferred method of riding. What about after the ride? What when you start taking him down, when you watch Spencer Lee, it's always the same thing. It's always like, and it's like tuned to perfection. So the guy tells me, you're looking at maybe 2 to 3 takedowns, and it all depends on, and there is the variations of the takedowns, obviously, the chaining of the takedowns, and maximum. They don't use more. And then from there, you're looking at a total of 7 techniques. So 6 or 7 techniques. So if you know your wrestler, you know exactly how things are going to go if things go his way.
Yeah. Right.
If things go his way. If they don't go his way and he has to fight for his life, you know what he's good at in terms of getting up. Not everybody Granby's out of things.
No.
Some people prefer to do the baby get up, and all that stuff. So not everybody does the same thing. Yeah. So different things. And that already plays into matchups, because if the other guy is too fucking good of preventing your Granbys and that's your go-to move, then you're fucked, right? But that's what it is. You're good at certain things, and your partners or opponents are good at either countering those things, or they're just good at other things. But they got a maximum set of techniques that they use in a competition. Now, if you look at BJJ competitors, they do the same thing. You use 5 techniques max.
Leandro Lo, the same. I mean, like Marcelo Garcia, they're all known. The best people are all known for the same goddamn thing that they shove down everyone's throat.
Yes,
great point. Yeah.
And you can say whatever you want about Gordon Ryan and his whatever.
Incredible.
The incredible thing to me about him is not just the precision and the with which he executes his techniques, but the fact that whenever he comes up with a new video series, it's because he worked on this particular thing for 6 months, and he said it himself, or whatever
his
amount of time.
Changes.
And he actually makes a match. He makes a match
to promote
this move. That's why the envelope and all that stuff. The envelope is the arrogance of it, which is great. But, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you probably do if you watch this far.
Hopefully.
But the envelope, he leaves an envelope with the name of the submission that he's going to perform on this opponent. He leaves it with the commentators. When he does a submission, they open the envelope and oops, it was an armbar.
I've seen where he's gotten that. I don't know if he always gets it like that.
Well, Merigali stitched up a triangle on the back of his gi, and he finished the guy with a triangle. He did it in the same, but he didn't put an envelope. He did it with the same idea.
He was like, I'm going to tell you right here. You're going to know.
And then when he triangled, he did this, and everybody's like, that's a fucking triangle right there.
Look, that's undeniable. That's dope.
And I think that's the beauty of you learn jiu-jitsu in a dilemma base, where they're going to just force the same dilemma to you, and they already know, well, they're probably going to give up this thing.
You can kind of force somebody down a path.
Exactly.
Did you see Gordon against Yuri? ADCC?
I didn't get to watch that one.
That last one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Dude, it was like so bad. I was like laughing because it hurt so much.
Well,
how he was just running the score up.
The previous day,
it was bad. Like he would just take his leg out and put it back in. The crowd was laughing. The crowd was like, "Oh shit!"
He wanted to embarrass him.
He didn't put the leg back in. He gave the leg back because Yuri would trap it.
Right.
He traps it in quarter guard, which I call quarter mount because it's no fucking guard.
Who
are we kidding?
All right. My hot take opinion. Quarter mount is better than regular mount.
Because you can leg ride?
Because you can leg ride, and it forces people. People have forced answers. They're like, okay, I have the foot.
You know exactly what they're going to do.
It narrows their focus, right? You've opened a door for them, and you go, all right, go through that door. I know all of the answers better. I've spent more time defending that.
Absolutely. Especially if you can force them on your good side, because everybody has the good side, right? So if you have your good side for chair seat back takes, for arm bars, for flattening them out on the one side. For example, I had a wrist problem for a while, and I could not lock a fucking kimura on this side to save my life. I got, like, people would run away, would break out of my kimura. So I would always lock it on the other side. And that's a good example. So if I were to get you on the side in a quarter guard, and I were to free my leg and go for an armbar with a kimura grip, I would much rather do it on the one side than the other. So if I could give you the leg there, by all means take it.
Yeah.
And let me play the game. And you're right. So from there you can go to whatever you want to, whatever you've practiced in the room.
Eddie Bravo said after he beat Hoyler the first time that made his name, that wasn't a final match, right?
Yeah.
That was like a
semi-quarter.
The next match, I think, was against Leo Vieira.
Yes.
And I heard Eddie Bravo telling the story. He said Leo Vieira had been looking at him and was like, "Oh, Eddie Bravo likes to do. He pulls you in his half guard on one side only." So Leo Vieira went to the other side, and Eddie Bravo was like, "I didn't know what to do."
Fucked. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to compare myself to Eddie Bravo, but I was competing once, and I look around the warm-up mats. And I knew the weight class I'm competing in, and it was no gi, and you know that people like to wear their
the ranked rash guards,
which I wasn't, but I was competing at the brown belt level, and brown and black actually, and they were together, and I see this guy, and he was in my weight class, and I see him, and I didn't see anybody else, like it was a small bracket given, and I look around, I didn't see any of the other guys, I'm like, the fuck, and then I look at this guy, and he's practicing arm drags from standing, arm drags on the opponent's right arm. So he's standing and he goes on this arm. So I'm like, and he's practicing, and he's
so
he's going to the back, he's going to the leg, he's going to the back, he's going to the leg. Not even. I just put my right arm back.
You're just like, let's go.
And the guy kept going to my right arm, even though he was back, like my rear arm.
He just got too narrow.
He was stuck.
Yes,
he was stuck.
He was
I'm
stuck.
Like,
he tried to.
I'm not saying I'm the smartest thing in the world.
He had a recipe. He didn't have an objective.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And he
That's
did not.
Great point.
He did not have. What is the word? It's not. It's like chain wrestling. He did not have an. He did not have an answer for.
He didn't have an answer, right?
For what if?
Yes.
And that's crazy because he only had apparently that one takedown. It's not like, oh, I'll just go to a double now.
Right.
He wanted that specific.
He didn't have an answer too for what happens if you were just so good at pulling your elbow back that it's like, okay, cool. Well, if people pull their arm back away, what can they not defend? Single leg.
Right.
Boom. Okay.
Right.
But the problem with him specifically, in this case at least, was that he was practicing the arm drags on that arm because the guy was right leg forward and right arm forward.
Yep.
He was southpaw and he himself was orthodox. But when I stand, I don't stand southpaw. I stand orthodox. So for me it was zero effort on my part. Now he kept going for the rear arm where it's even my leg is back there. He can never go to my back even if he gets the arm drag a little bit. He probably won't even get to the leg because it's not even there anymore.
Remember how you were talking earlier about the white belt that you were doing something, you kept doing it?
Yeah.
And how he didn't see it?
Well, he tried it like 4 times on me.
Well, he probably didn't see what was weird about that. Like,
right. He didn't realize that
he was looking for one thing.
Yeah, he was so like, okay, this is the only thing I've ever learned.
Right. On the same arm.
Right.
And
wow.
Let me ask you this question. As a student and a teacher, what would you say? Would you practice the same move on both sides?
It is about, once again, it's about how you teach people the dilemma of, like I said, if I'm teaching an arm drag and the response to an arm drag is, okay, they will not allow you to have it. They're either going to give you the arm drag or they're going to defend by removing the arm. If people remove the arm, they cannot at the same time possibly defend the leg. So you have to teach people to think in that manner. Okay. So then it doesn't matter if it's like, okay, they're leading left arm forward rather than right arm. Okay, you need to arm drag that arm. Then your follow-up will have to, or generally, be some sort of leg attack. And so that is what I would teach people. It doesn't really matter about drill on this side or drill on that side. It's drill in or teach in a sequence that is, if people do this, they cannot possibly defend the other thing.
Okay.
And then there are answers to attack that leg, because there's many ways to attack a leg when they take an arm away.
So you're saying while we're rolling right now,
Uh-huh.
and I'm an I want that arm drag from the neutral.
Yep.
But you're not giving it to me. I should have like an active thought or whatever kind of thinking goes on when you're moving.
I can't defend a low ankle pick.
Okay, so I should be like, oh, he's not that arm isn't there. There has to be a leg open now.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
kind of like that with everything.
With everything. If I have an underhooked on you and like I got head in the ear and I'm looking to try to like trip your foot and you pull your foot back,
right.
You cannot defend a snap down because you have moved your hips back, right?
Okay.
It doesn't matter how I get that foot back. I could get that foot back with an Ochigari, with a fucking dashi, or whatever the fuck, right? A knee tap, a single leg fake, high crotch, doesn't matter.
Or I can bring it back.
Or you can bring it back because that's the way you like it.
Okay.
I have told you that the situation is if your hips are back, it's easier to snap the head down.
But I don't know if you misunderstood the question or maybe I misunderstood the answer. Hold on.
Oh, okay, sure. I think I said that rather than, okay, drill from one side or the other, you need to have, I would say that you need to be good at drilling in such a way that, okay, what if someone's standing this way? I need to have a different set of techniques. I would say don't worry about getting good at the arm drag on both sides.
Okay. So that's what I meant.
Develop your game in such that, they're a southpaw. These are the techniques I have for southpaws.
I would say, although I would argue that arm drag is a special case because I think that with arm drags you probably should be good on both sides specifically because if you start pulling, what's that?
Yeah, generally.
Generally, because if you start defending the arm drag on the one side, it's very likely that you're going to be giving up the other arm. So it may be an elbow pass, which is essentially an arm drag.
There's not too much going on with an arm drag, too, that it's like, it's
right.
just this.
Right.
It's just
yeah,
this.
Just this one, and then the legs.
It's not
yes.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but let's give us an example, half guard, where you can actually build a whole game on half guard, right?
Okay, half guard
bottom,
sides.
bottom.
What happens if they go the other way?
Right. So when they go the other way and you're forced to play half guard on your left hip rather than your right hip, would you have the same set of techniques, or would you drill the same set of techniques as religiously as you do?
Oh, I don't.
And when I say drill, I mean work on them. I don't mean drill like
I think
drill,
that's entirely personal. I think, because for me, I don't do the same things on both sides.
I don't either.
I have the same staging positions on both sides. I'm going to try, are you going to let me get the underhook? You didn't let me get the underhook. Great. I'm going to push the wrist away and sit it to my elbow.
Right.
Maybe I'll do a roll through to a leg lock on my left side versus my right side.
I'm trying to get out if I'm on.
Yeah, or maybe
on your bad side. On your bad
or
side.
if it's the bad side,
look, I don't like
I
this.
just go, okay, I'm going to just continue to, I'm going to remove myself from the position.
Okay.
And so I think it's more.
Okay, I just want to hear your
do what
opinion on
feels
that.
comfortable, but have the, okay, here's the place I got to get to, and now what are the dilemmas I can create that feel comfortable on that side.
What do you think most guys do? Like, I've been watching a bunch of like IBJJF gi stuff. It's interesting and fun for me. Do you think like those guys at that level doing sport are drilling both sides?
Depends on how much time they have.
I just remember it seems like back in the day more so it was like a thing, drill both sides.
I still
But
hear
somehow
that to
the
this
culture-
day, and I
It seems like the
disagree with
culture's
it.
less, it seems to me.
I think it's less hard and fast rules. I think it really depends on the person. Do they feel super comfortable with their, okay, I can get the underhook. Oh, nope, I can get to the overhook. And then what is their sequence? What is their dilemma from there that feels good, that they like? And maybe it's the same on both sides.
So the way I see it, specifically, and I'm going to give the half guard as an example because it's a bottom position from which you can build a game. You can build your game, and you can do a bunch of different things. And you play it on the right hip or the left hip, depending on which side you're playing the half guard. And I think that nobody's good on both sides of the same thing equally.
No.
Okay, and if you're a good guard passer, I think. Not if you're a good guard passer. If you want to be a good guard passer, you should pass guard on both sides, but especially to your right, because most people defend to their right.
Yes,
right.
It's the right-handed thing, I think.
So I have a different set of like techniques because.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
So what I do is like I know, okay, everyone is really fucking good at digging the left underhook. I'm just not even going to worry about that. I'm going to only focus on the near side underhook when I pass to my left side because they're like no, I got the underhook. I'm supposed to be good at this. Oh shit.
That's the best counter to their underhook.
Exactly.
Your near side underhook.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't even need to worry about it. I'm just going to try to.
Out.
Yeah, it's a good answer. And then the other side, it's more. I just do side smashes. I'll just side smash, step over the leg.
Right.
You know, I'm thinking. I don't remember the last time I found myself in half guard on this wrong
On the
hip.
bad side?
On the. I don't know if it's like I fall.
It's probably because of how people like to pass.
That's-
Generally, people like to
That's what I'm
pass
saying. People
Oh,
to
like
their
to
left.
pass on your good side.
Yeah, they
never
like
Your
on
good
the
side
side.
also because you play it on that side.
we
for the
share.
most
We
part.
share the good side.
Yeah.
Now,
That's probably what it is.
here's
for
the
sure.
thing. So here's the thing. When I hear people say, "Oh no, let's drill it on both sides." So let's say we're doing a whatever technique. Let's drill it on both sides. We're very restricted on time in jiu-jitsu for some
Yes.
reason, right? So you have 5 minutes to drill the one part of the technique, right? And then you're gonna get another 5 minutes later for the next part. So if you stack them properly, you know, if you're smart, that first part of the technique, you're gonna end up drilling about 15 minutes in total,
Yeah.
right? So basically you are gonna get the reps. But if you do both sides and you're
split the
uncomfortable
focus.
on one of them, you split the focus and you're lowering the amount of reps.
You're lowering the depth.
Yes. And so instead of becoming better at one thing, you're becoming very average on two things.
Right.
Because this becomes a different technique really when it's on the other side
100%.
for you.
100%.
Right.
So
The guy asked me the other day,
Marcel-
your class, Justin. He was like, "You want to train? You want to try the other side?" I was like, "Nope."
Nope.
I was like, "Maybe once I feel really comfortable with this for fun, maybe. But until I feel really comfortable with this, no, I'm trying to focus on."
What were you guys doing? I don't
I
remember.
think it was whatever we were doing stand up
the
on
elbow
Monday.
pass.
I got a question then. How do you choose
Elbow
which
pass.
one becomes your good side?
Oh, you
It's
try it
whatever-
out.
Whatever feels.
I was gonna say
So,
you give it a try.
I would say the technique that you choose to integrate into your game based on what you're learning is what already do I have and that I'm already good at that this thing could connect to and play as a dilemma between. That's how I would choose which side to get good at.
and
100%. It seems like maybe it's because I've been in enough positions over
That
all
you're
these
already
years
familiar with
that I just
some-
feel
Yeah,
comfortable
yeah.
already.
But with that being said, I don't ignore the other side. What I would like to do is when you say which side are you good at? Good at what though? Because on the one side I would like to play the half guard, but on the other side, if I end up being in half guard on the other side, I'll be looking to, like you said, maybe I'll be looking to push away with the knee shield and recover to open guard.
Yeah.
And then get up to butterfly guard and then get back to my strong side on the half
Right.
guard, right? So
Right.
get good at what? Become very good at disengaging, not letting them pass to your bad side.
Yeah.
Disengaging, re-engaging, and putting them on your good game.
That's like
I
your,
think
your
that-
technique for that side.
Right. That's what you're good at on that side, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So it's a different technique, and that's what Marcelo Garcia was saying because
I
somebody
agree with
asked
that.
him, and he said, "Do you do the same technique on both sides?" And he said, "No. If I'm gonna do, I don't want to say the kimura because he doesn't like kimuras."
If you want to do the butterfly sweep on this way, you know,
Yeah,
he's
then you don't
he's
have
gonna
to
do
do
the
the
shoulder
same.
clamp the other way.
If you're in a butterfly, very good example. If you're in butterfly guard, just seated butterfly guard, and you're hand fighting and all that stuff, and you like your butterfly sweep on this side, but you can't. Like in my case, I can't do the butterfly sweep. You're getting there too. I can't do the butterfly sweep on the one side because of my knee. I have no strength in this knee to elevate, but I do in the other one. So I'm good doing it this way. I'm not good doing it that way. I'm okay doing it this way. I'm not good on the other side. But I would definitely attack for arm drags on this side. I would definitely attack for maybe going to the leg or something like this. And whatever happens from there, you know, because every time you attack one side, they expose the other one, and you're good to go and integrate it into your strong game. And that's what I've been looking to work on. And you know, I haven't taught people that way because nobody's ever, you know, asked. But when I've done privates, I've talked to people about it because it just arises as a problem. But it's an interesting topic to talk with somebody because it's, you know, we've been doing it long enough, especially you, and it's like, you would think that, oh, I'm a wizard on both sides. Nobody is.
No.
Right.
Nobody is. And if you're a white belt and you're watching, or blue belt or whatever, and you think that you suck because everybody's passing your guard to your left and your half guard is good on your right only, everybody's like that. Or, you know, whatever. Like Axel likes to play his half guard on his left and he likes to force people to play to pass to that side
because they're
play.
so used to
Right.
like, people generally teach the pass.
And he's left-handed, and for some reason it just works better for him. And he had a hip issue. So for him, it's just a perfect storm. And if he can force you on that side, you're lost because you don't know what to do on that side because you've never done it.
Right.
With that being said, there is always the alternative. So if we're drilling and it's an ecological approach, and they tell me you gotta do whatever you want to do to pass that half guard, but you can't stand up. That's the only restriction. You can't stand up and disengage. And I'm fucked because he plays it all the time on that side, and I've never played it on that side offensively to pass from half guard. I would always get up and disengage because it's my weak side to play half guard from. I would get up, disengage, smash, maybe go to X pass or to round or whatever the case, right?
I would say that they shouldn't limit you to getting up. I think getting up should always be an option because then you're not good at grappling. Grappling is forcing other people to engage with you. You're not gonna get up. You gotta force me to get off of you.
No, I meant get up as in...
Yeah, like get up.
No. Get up. You're in top half guard trying to pass the half guard knee
Oh,
shield.
you mean like get up and go to the
stand
other...
up and go to the other side. Yes, because then it kind of defeats the purpose of playing half guard because there's no more half guard.
Yeah, retreating.
We're not treating it as a half guard anymore. It's open guard. But...
Yeah, I would call that retreating out of a guard
Yeah,
in order
I got
to
you.
engage in a different way.
Yeah.
I got a question, since we're talking about that too. Did you happen to watch the CJI final? Mm-hmm. Levi Jones-Leary?
Yep.
Versus...
we ask everybody.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what do you think about the whole sit-down thing?
Okay.
And just let me say this, just so you have something to fight against.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, I don't really have a bad opinion about it, but I will say, I don't like how, like, he sits down and how Ruotolo is forced to stay there.
Yep.
Because my thing is, okay, I watched it the other day and I heard, what's my man's name, Brendan? He's a 10th Planet black belt. He was announcing.
BMAC, yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, great guy.
But we were arguing. Because what he was saying was that in the first 2 rounds, Cade was
trying to pass and just couldn't pass the outside.
He was defending how Levi Jones-Leary was winning the first 2 rounds.
Because he would engage, and then as soon as he got
as soon as there was a threat of a leg lock injury, he would retreat, reset, and then continue outside passing.
My thing is, when you start off neutral, okay? The points come from offensive moves. When you sit to your butt immediately, you're defensive now. So even if you're doing an offensive thing, it's starting from defense.
Okay.
So forcing Ruotolo to be there to engage, I think there's just something weird about that. He should not have been winning those first 2 rounds, in my opinion, because he was on the defensive. Is his guard
incredible?
Yes, 1,000 times.
His leg attack, because
1,000 times. He's genius.
I'm gonna speak to 2 things. One, here is what Levi Jones was so good at that it forced Ruotolo to retreat. Right? He would create a threat of, if you try to pass the guard from the outside, he will enter into the legs. If you try to lower yourself down, he's going to enter into the arm saddle. Cade saw that, and he felt that, and was like, shit, I have to retreat and reset, because I am forced, like you acknowledge, by the rules to engage the guard passer. Now, I would ask, like, is this good, is this bad, is irrelevant. It's an irrelevant question. It is, what is the rule set you have agreed to in this tournament? What is this tournament? Now, meta question.
Fuck that though, but you're right.
I understand.
I can't argue with that. Because you agreed to the rules.
I agree with the fact that I don't like that. Because it is gaming the rule.
It's a hack.
It's a gaming the system.
These nerds are smart.
Nerds.
They're badass. I mean, I want to be a nerd. I'm trying to catch up with y'all too.
All right. Now the meta question. The meta question is this. What is the point of the grappling tournament? What are we trying to determine? Who is better at what?
Offense.
Okay. Submissions? winning grappling.
Submission grappling.
Yeah. So what they have done is said, now I am creating no disincentive to sit guard. You don't lose any points by sitting guard, right? So that's baked into the rules. And they've said, you must engage as the passer. What that has done has created the opportunity for Levi to know, okay, I do not have to go get you. You have to go get me. That means he can specialize in a very narrow set.
He can create his own thing.
He can create the dilemma that he is so much better at Cade than. And Cade got pissed that he could not engage on his terms. Unfortunately, that is the rule.
He figured, and what I think is genius about those two boys,
yes,
the twins, and the first time I saw this fight, I was like going, dude, what is he going to do? He figured it out.
Yeah.
By that third round, he was like, okay, I got to do this. This is happening. After the third round was over and he won that third round, I think he was like, okay, this fool's getting a little bit tired. As long as I can kind of keep doing this, if he gets underneath me, I get out a little bit and then I kind of... And he kind of gamed the game a little bit.
Correct.
But I still have to give him all the credit for doing that.
You can say whatever you want. You said 5-minute rounds. That's 25 minutes. And Gustavo was on the podcast and he made a very valid point. You're looking at 25 minutes, but with breaks in between.
Yep.
So Levi, naturally, as someone, he was playing in a position that's unnatural to the human body. Right?
Yeah, it's tiring. Yeah.
Right. More tiring, rather.
He's gonna get tired.
So he was gonna get tired
quicker.
sooner.
Right.
If they're both
if
fit,
it was
equally
25 minutes continuously or unlimited time limit, Cade might win over time.
Yes, and that's what happened even with the breaks.
Yes.
Over time, you could see that
Luckily,
Levi started
Cade
waning.
his gas tank is so crazy.
Yes.
He could keep that pressure.
Yeah.
But imagine if you can't.
Yeah.
He's at the top level of being able just to go for 25
So
minutes.
here's the question. I'm going to bring it back to something I said earlier. What is the point of getting good at jiu-jitsu? Is it to defend and win in a specific rule set where the other person is forced to engage with you? Or are you trying to learn jiu-jitsu in order to go and beat the shit out of somebody else and force them to grapple with you? I would argue
The second one.
I would argue that is why a new person who walks in that door comes to learn jiu-jitsu. They don't want to win a tournament. They want to get good at fighting. Then they learn, and here's my other controversial opinion. I think Muay Thai people suffer the same problem, where they're like, no, just stand square here and throw the knees. And I'm like, dog, I'm going to double leg the shit out of you. Same thing with wrestling. No, I'm so good at wrestling, I can beat you in jiu-jitsu. Right, you could win there, but we're going to start up here in a fight, and I'm gonna throw a hook and then I'm going to knee you.
Yeah.
And this is a problem with anything that is gamed to the rule set or techniques are selected based on an unnatural thing. The looser the rules, we begin to see some trends. Right. And I think that is the real lesson of MMA is where are the trends based on what the rules incentivize.
I would argue that in CJI, I would think in ADCC too, but I would argue that I think IGA did that rule set, that they did not get points for the first half of the round unless it's a takedown.
Interesting.
Takedown scores the 2
That's
points.
not AGCC.
No, IGA does that.
Oh, AIGA?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one. Okay.
Pardon me.
I just didn't know.
Excuse me, AIGA.
You can always tell who went to college here.
I've never heard it pronounced. I was like, I think he's talking about this one.
I've never heard it pronounced
AIGA.
I never heard it pronounced like that. I was thinking IGA, but they also do rounds, 3-minute round, 3-minute rounds, I think. And
I thought they were like ADCC.
I will say that to the rules and the things that these different people are trying to do, and Craig was very smart. He knew he was trying to create an entertainment product, a thing to be consumed. Yeah. It is not necessarily who is the best fighter, because then you would allow unlimited time, unlimited submissions, and that shit gets fucking boring.
Well, yeah, you can't do...
When you have to move to the back room to finish your match.
You can't have a 45-minute...
So, what are the compromises we need to make in order to determine who is the best grappler that has the best entertainment product under these rule sets?
I personally love the rounds.
I like that. I actually really did.
I like the pit or the alley, whatever they call it.
That was the secret weapon.
I thought that was so cool.
Because if it was ADCC, How many times?
Run off the fucking mat.
Right. How many times that happen?
They don't reset it. I understand the no resets.
Even if they,
I love the no resets.
Yeah,
but there has to be some kind of boundary that
there has to
be.
be.
It forces you to like disincentivize you from disengaging.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Now the other thing is also
100%.
Yeah, and then there's no there's no like. He's running around the perimeter. No, because you're gonna slam him into the wall,
right.
And then that fucking wall is 45 degrees. And imagine
that's a whole nother thing to deal with. That.
Yeah, it's not this wall. It's a different wall. Like Mackenzie Dern found out, right? It's you could tell she was.
Fucking what's the name against the wrestler dude that has the weird looking mullet and then
Pat Downey.
Pat Downey versus who's the handsome guy?
Oh, Luke
Rockhold.
Yeah.
Oh.
Man, that sucks.
Luke was badly injured.
I think he got hurt. Yeah,
Luke
that
was
sucks.
badly injured.
I've heard really good things about his grappling. So
Luke is really good.
Yeah.
Luke.
But he's not. Didn't
he tap Greg in training?
He's smug.
I'm sure he's an asshole. I'm sure he's an asshole.
He is, but he's
of course. Like
I don't even mind broadcasting that to the world. Luke Rockhold is
shout out Luke Rockhold. You're a handsome prick.
He is handsome, but
Luke
fuck him.
had a very good wrestling match with not wrestling.
Shemaev. Just recently.
Oh, dude, Chimaev.
Did you see that?
Walked over him though, dude. That is scary.
He dominated him, but Chimaev is way younger.
Yeah.
Chimaev is still a professional. Luke Rockhold is old. He's retired. Luke Rockhold did what Elio wanted him to do, which was survive.
Yeah. I will say Chimaev
is a
impresses the hell
monster,
out of
dude.
me. I love that
I don't know
guy's
about his
grappling.
gas tank is a little suspect.
part of
But
the weight
it's
cuts.
not necessary for him to have a big gas tank
not in short
because
rounds,
he's fucking people up.
Yeah.
We'll see how he fights against. He's got to fight with
I've been seeing him.
Whitaker.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be so much fun.
That's gonna be good, dude. And I'm like,
Whitaker has underrated grappling, and he knows that it's like
he's tough and he's got a gas tank.
Yeah, wasn't he an Australian national wrestler? Not like a.
He was.
It's just his time was so long ago, though. That's why he's interesting to me because his prime was years ago when he was a champion with fighting with
years ago.
Romero. This is like 5, 6. This is
more
more than 5 years ago.
That was,
and he's still relevant.
I love that guy.
So we'll see.
Robert Whitaker. I love
think
watching
he's
him.
probably going to get.
Really,
he's a big
he's
gaming
fun to
nerd
watch.
too. Shout out Robert Whitaker. If you see this, I'll send you some Valorant stuff.
He's a cool dude, though. I really like him. He had a fight against Romero where he hurt his knee really bad in the beginning of the first round, out of a 5-round fight for the title, and he just toughed through it and won. And Romero
defended the takedowns against a silver fucking medalist.
Dude,
Wild.
Romero is crazy.
Romero is good.
He's so.
I want to be like
They
him
said
when I
his
grow
bone
up.
structure. They did some tests on him. Like he's
what, 87,
He's built
80?
different.
They say
as the
there's
kids
some
say.
kind of. There was an experiment they did.
Yeah.
Like,
The
when they
Cuban
were young, they did
experiment.
some
Romero
stuff to him.
They
Romero is
Wolverine
around
that guy.
87, 88 years old at this point. Nobody knows.
I heard that he was actually a rock golem. He's not a human.
Have you seen him run?
No.
All this is fused, so he runs like straight up, dude. It's crazy, but he's still
Soldier of God, I come for you.
I love you. With Michael Bisbee, him and Michael Bisbee had a thing.
Dude, that was psycho. I
so
love that shit though.
weird, so weird. I loved it.
Oh man.
I was a big fan of his.
All right, boys, are we gonna do an outro?
Let's do an outro, yeah. So.
I got one quick question
Okay,
for the
go for
coaches,
it.
and it won't be for both these guys are coaches. They train people. Real quick, what kind of advice would you give or ideas about someone that wants to, let's say, study jiu-jitsu? I work a job where I'm sitting in my car for 12 hours or something, and I would like to do something that could help out my jiu-jitsu. And I don't want to like just watch.
You shouldn't watch videos while you're driving.
Well, I'm just sitting in my car.
Okay.
But I don't want to watch a million videos because that's dumb.
Yeah.
What advice would you give somebody that wants to study jiu-jitsu like in their off time?
You want to go first?
As in what to do?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So first of all, one thing we did not mention when we're talking about approaches, whether it's ecological or whatever approach you want to call, everybody learns differently. So you can make case for any of the methodologies, but one thing you can't determine is what way a different person learns best. Because some people learn from seeing something right away, it sticks in their head, and then they can't wait to try. Some people take notes. Some people literally take notes.
Watch tape of themselves.
Some people literally watch tape. I'm a big advocate on people recording themselves, watching their thing. But if you are to just learn, if I were to give one advice, you just learn something, try and figure yourself out and if you can record yourself before that and see yourself rolling, try and figure out what your game is, and then see where your weaknesses are. Work on those naturally. Obviously, everybody has to work on their weaknesses. But if you want to develop your game into like, what should I work on next? I would say, if you have time to watch video and video does it for you, watch video of something that's closely related to your game. So if you're a half guard player, I'll give you an example with me. I got a problem with people standing up in my half guard and making it an open guard. Same kind of what we touched on, making it an open guard. And then I would think, I got a problem with that. Let's say I can't keep him in my half guard for some reason. They get up, and then I'm like, what do I do from here? So now I'm starting to look for solutions. I'm trying to, and once you watch those things, watch different things, watch different people. And once you find something that might be interesting to you, try it out. If it doesn't work for you because you have a bad left hip or something, try something else. But learn around your game rather than learn something completely new, which will come probably at some point anyway. It might be part of your next chain, part of your next game. But for now, learn something that's going to improve the game that you're already in and expand it probably. Yeah, I definitely agree with starting with what you're good at and then look for options that help you address the problems you have. Yeah. So that's like, and I think that speaks to a larger point of like a lot of people over rely on, I go to class and that's it. No other sport does that. Every other sport says, watch tape, go do things, spend anything in your own time, journal, whatever it is. So I think learning how to learn is a really important step that happens at generally like late white belt, early blue belt, where you're like, I need to go do things outside of class and take responsibility for my development. So when you talk about like, what are the things I can do while I'm sitting around at home, I'm watching TV, like I want to just watch and learn. I originally got a lot of help and a lot of inspiration from watching like BJJ Scout videos back in the day. Yeah. Particularly the ones that talk about, look at the concept. You want to learn concepts so that you can see the objectives again. It's back to what's the objective? How do I create dilemmas? How can I recognize it? I would say your video time should be learning the language of how to learn and see the dilemmas that other people are putting out there in the positions that you want to develop and get good at. So go look online, go understand what is it that these people are doing? What is a concept? Like, oh, they're pinning the hips. They're keeping the feet off the floor. What are the answers to these problems that I have? And I think that is the best use of your time of where to learn to get good and understand your game. Understand why you're good at jiu-jitsu. What is it that you're doing well? And know how to speak to that. And then once you are able to learn how to learn, I think your development takes off so much more. Great answers from both of you. Thank you. And find out how you're good at learning, because everybody is good at different ways of learning, you know. Some people work on feel, other people work on video, you know, and it's just, it comes down to practice, but what your body tells you to do is, you know, doesn't tell everybody the same thing. So absolutely, yeah. Anyway, boom. That was a lot of fun and a lot of knowledge to absorb. To be honest with you, I really value the opinion and what came out of it. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you. Sure. Until next Thursday nights. Thursday nights, 8 o'clock. Uprise. Yo, what episode One-legged. Was that? I don't know. Like nine-ish? Nine-ish. Yeah. and it's not even the 2nd of October yet. We're done before midnight for once. Oh, thank God. I gotta be working 6. I know, we're out of here early, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. Cheers, guys. That was great. That was so much fun. Dude, we did it again.